any human rights violation. The report found that in the nearly 28 years that the law has been in force in Jammu and Kashmir, there has not been a single prosecution of armed forces personnel granted by the central government.
The question arises as to who will come to the rescue of the hapless Kashmiris. Definitely, this is the responsibility of the United Nations and the world powers to pressurize India to stop this genocide. But unfortunately, due to financial and trade-related interests, they are silent spectators to the illegal occupation of India. During the past 7 decades, India, in its effort to justify its illegal occupation of the state, has adopted many tactics. Every now and then, India stages the drama of sham elections in the occupied Kashmir and gives the impression that elections will substitute to Kashmir's right to self-will. United Nations and the world community is fully aware of the real situation in Kashmir, but their silence is a big question mark. Under Article 35A of the Indian Constitution, non-Kashmiri cannot purchase property in the state, nor can cast vote. No non-Kashmiri can get Kashmiri's identity card or passport. Even today, over 80% population of Kashmir is Muslim, and this fact is the biggest hurdle in the path of India. During the past 70 years, India has been running away from the promise of the plebiscite as it fully realizes what will be the verdict of Kashmiris. India adopted several tactics to overcome this hurdle. Separate colonies for Pandits, planned to construct colonies for families of the Indian Army personnel deployed in Kashmir, reconstruction of Hindu ashram in Kashmir, and attracting Indian government servants through various incentives to work in Kashmir are some of the ploys adopted to change the demography of Kashmir. But so far, none of these could deliver the dividend. Now, through conspiracy, it has been planned to abolish Article 35 of the Constitution, which grants Kashmir a special status. First of all, a countrywide campaign was launched through the hardline Hindu organizations, and then a writ was filed in the Supreme Court to get the article removed from the Constitution, proceedings of which are continuing nowadays. Incidents of custodial killings and extrajudicial killings have further increased as the army personnel have no fear of law. The most unfortunate aspect of this situation is that the Indian occupation forces have denied entry of human rights organizations and their activists in the valley to cover the gross human rights violations at the hand of Indian Army and security forces. Even Kashmir's religious rights are usurped as they are not allowed to offer Eid and Friday prayers, with the freedom-loving Kashmiris take the streets on the call of Hurriyat leadership. Whenever fewer of the martyred Kashmiris' youth are taken out, tens of thousands of Kashmiris throng and give clear message to the Indian Army that they will have to quit Kashmir. Every Kashmiri hates Indian occupation forces, and time is not far off that India will have to quit this paradise on earth. The United Nations and the world community should get up from their slumber and play their due role in granting Kashmiris their birthright of the right to self-determination so that they can decide about their own future, as this is the only solution to this long-standing issue and durable peace in South Asia.
Now we have a couple of speeches and presentation. First by Dr. Murtaza Arai, who is surgeon by profession and community activist and former president of one of the most respected organization, Apna. Dr. Murtaza Arai, please.
Thank you, the Honorable Consul General, members of the staff of the Consulate, my respected friends, brothers, sisters. Assalamu alaikum. It's indeed an honor once again. I think this is probably the third time since the Consulate has opened that I've been asked to say something, and I consider this to be a unique honor. the tragic history, as sad as it is, it's really not about the real estate. As beautiful as Kashmir is, and Iqbal has said it's like paradise on earth, but it's really about the people. And in reference to people, and if we are living in a day and age when it's not the might that's right, but it's the right, it should be what's right, should be the might. We have seen that applied many places, but unfortunately two very stark examples of the last 70 to 75 years have been the history of Palestine and history of Kashmir. I stand in front of you, as told I'm a surgeon, but I have had the honor of working with some of the authors and have known some of the authors that are considered to be credible on the history of Kashmir, what really happened. They are well documented. One of them is American writer William Baker. This is his book, and many of you were part of getting that book published. And the other one, Professor Alistair Lamb, the title The Birth of a Tragedy, British author, relatively more known in the world than Professor Baker. And it really has this whole issue, what was discussed, or legal position with the British as they were leaving India, the All India Congress and the Muslim League, representing Hindus and Muslims respectively in the subcontinent, came up to an agreement that in reference to people and their wishes, let the India be divided into two countries, India and Pakistan. British Parliament's Act gave constitutional right, and with the leadership of Jinnah Sahab and Liaquat Ali Khan, and on the other side Nehru and Patel and Menon, Gandhi, a process started. Muslim majority areas went to become Pakistan. Princely states had a mandate how to handle that. By and large, the process worked to an extent that we have Pakistan today. So that's a testimonial to some success. But the tragedy happened with the process, legal process was not followed. In Hyderabad, Dakhan, Junagadh, particularly in Kashmir, where there was a Muslim majority to this day, 80% Muslims, contiguous with Pakistan, had all the features of this part being, and the wishes of the people, should they be given a chance, would opt for Pakistan. Unfortunately, we are still waiting for that day. And as the people living in this century want their voices heard, freedom of speech, it invites violence. And the violence has been so tragic, and the Indian forces have used inhumane techniques to curb and to subdue the wishes of the people. But the movement is not dying down, neither it is in Kashmir, neither it is in Palestine. Very briefly, in 1 minute, if I were to tell you, Professor Baker, a community effort, $50,000, 3 months, Professor Baker takes a leave of absence from University of California, LA, and posing as a tourist, God helps him, He told me that several times in that journey of 3 months, he thought he may be killed, and he thought it was impossible to get to Srinagar. I am convinced that the divine help. Many places, when he hit an obstacle, somehow he was able to achieve his mission, wrote the book. And the book is really a story of about 6 stories of the person who's on the cover is a physician. And when Indian forces found out that he gave interview to Professor Baker, they killed him. There is a story of a little girl, 10-year-old Shakila. There is a story of an ambulance driver. So it's about 6 stories, real human stories, that make up 300 pages. Professor Lamb's book is somewhat more historic and extremely fact-oriented. Now, if I were to take you really from the 20th of October 1947 till the 27th of October, to refresh my memory, I read that particular 7 pages last night and again this afternoon. It's amazing the deceit, the deception, and the manipulations at the highest level with the Indian government, with Nehru and Vallabhbhai Patel, Menon, in cahoot with Lord Mountbatten to achieve this instrument of accession, which happened about 9 a.m. on the 27th of October. We don't even know where it happened. Maharaja was not in Srinagar. Some say he was on the run. And nevertheless, they produced a document. Lord Mountbatten convinced Prime Minister Attlee in London, and he convinced King George VI that this is only provisional, and this is to maintain peace in Kashmir, and this will become final with the reference to the will of the people. And that promise at the highest level with the British government did not get fulfilled under one pretext of the other or the other. The first time, so 15th of August, 14th of August, Pakistan becomes independent. 2 months later, October happens, and this is surprising. A lot of states have decided to either to accede to India or Pakistan. Kashmiri Maharaja is unable to decide. He's in negotiation with the Pakistani leaders, Mr. Jinnah and Liaquat Ali Khan, and on the other side. And this uprising happens. 1st of January, 1948, United Nations first resolution on Kashmir. Indian promise that we will let the people decide. To this day, the whole subject matter becomes hostage to superpower rivalry, and the end result is that the people are suffering. A lot of people have written about it. There is a hue and cry, but unfortunately, it's not the right that's might, it's the might that's the right. I just want to say in conclusion that what is the solution? First of all, events like this are probably happening throughout the world, certainly in Kashmir, certainly in Pakistan, and certainly a lot of other places, wherever there is a Pakistani American community. And Pakistani embassy, which is probably there in 165 countries, and consulate offices are probably over 300 places in the world. And we really appreciate the government of Pakistan providing moral, diplomatic, and legal support to the cause. And this cause shall not die. I think this is the just cause, is with reference to people. And in an environment where might is right, how do we become might? I heard last year my good friend Dr. Tipu Siddiq, and he referred to that it's the weakness that invites destruction. Hai jurme zaifi ki saza margi mafajat. You see, the weakness invites. In Sindhi language, we say that the bull that is or the buffalo that is weak, somehow the more mosquitoes bite. that particular animal, because that doesn't have enough power in their tail or in their wings to, on their ears to ward off the danger. So from that saying in a village in Sindh to at the highest corridors of power, it is that the weakness invites destruction, and it shouldn't be that, but that's the fact. So hopefully if 58 countries, Muslim countries, like there are 50 states in the United States, we call them United States of America, I've been here 48 years. There are 58 Muslim countries. Why couldn't there be a United States of Islam? From Indonesia to Morocco. We have human resources. What is it that we don't have? And if we have a sincere leadership, if we could achieve that, then we'll be players. Then nobody would be able to walk over us like this. I just want to finish a tribute to the Kashmiri people from a poem written by a Chicago poet in reference to Bosnia. But I think it fits exactly the same. This was written around the mid-90s, and it says that it was something like this. I don't remember the whole thing, but I'm sure you'll get the message. And it is that हम तो शहर कातिल में सरफराज फिरते, हम तो शहर कातिल में सरफराज फिरते हैं, बज़्म नाज़्म में तुम पे कितना खौफतारी है, वक्त पे नज़र रखना, वक्त बदलता रहता है, वक्त पे नज़र रखना, वक्त बदलता रहता है, आज हमारी बारी है तो कल तुम्हारी बारी है, और ग़ज़वाए हक़ व बातिल में जीत किसको कहते हैं? ग़ज़वाए हक़ व बातिल में जीत किसको कहते हैं? हौसला नहीं हारा, हमने जान हारी। शुक्रिया।
Now we have a presentation specially prepared by Mr. Hifzur Rahman. Mr. Rahman served in Pakistan Army for over two and a half decades, and he has experience of operating in various operation situations. Now I invite Mr. Rahman to please come to the stage.
So may I have permission to start?
Yes, please.
बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। एक नई जिद्दत, नए इलेक्शन, नई हुकूमत और नए कॉन्सुलेट स्टाफ के साथ मैं आप सबको खुशामदीद बोलता हूँ। मेरा जो पर्सपेक्टिव है इट्स एंटायरली डिफरेंट एंड आई एम जस्ट कवरिंग अप द मिलिट्री बिल्डअप इन इंडियन हेल्ड कश्मीर। मैं अगर ये कहूँ कि दुश्मन दरवाजे तक पहुँच चुका है तो इट्स नॉट ए बैड वर्डिंग्स। I'll just very briefly apprise you about the Indian held Kashmir. थोड़े से नए लोग हैं, आपको थोड़ा सा आइडिया हो जाएगा। मैं, yes, okay. At the moment, Indian held Kashmir has two control lines. Line of control is with Pakistan. You can see this line of control is going through. And second one is LAC, line of actual control, which is with China. You can see. The other province of the China is known as Askai Chin, while the Pakistani line of control, this side, is known as Pakistani held Kashmir. The length of Pakistani held Kashmir is around 704 kilometers, while the Indian held Kashmir, यहाँ से जो इनकी line है, जो Sky Chain, जिनका disputed border है with China, is about more than 4,000 some hundred kilometers. Jammu and Kashmir is a unique, geographically located. It has Himachal Pradesh, Punjab, Pakistani Punjab, and on this side it has northern areas of Pakistan known as Baltistan, as well as Chinese Askai Chin. It's all very, very hard rocked mountains we have. Next. Children, I'll be covering these very important few things जो आप आम जिंदगी में नहीं सुनते, लेकिन they are in Kashmir. Before I go on this and take one by one. Very recently, the Israeli Mossad has taken over half of the Srinagar air base to operate against Pakistan and the control and see the movement of the Pakistani troops. They have brought their own systems, and Indian government has taken billions of dollars for that. Usko free mein unko nahi diya. Mossad has also established their stations in Srinagar, in Delhi, as well as one is towards Bengal. Similarly, CIA has also established one in Mumbai, second one in Bengal, and third one is in Srinagar. I take the first one, Rapids. Rapids stands for Reorganized Army Planes Infantry Divisions. No. Reorganized Army Planes Infantry Division. I just take you, मैं इसको छोड़ के सामने आता हूँ. Few years back, once we had, rather 20-25 years back, we had a very serious threat to the Peshawar. When the Russians were moving from Peshawar to contact Peshawar, or contact Peshawar means we come under the influence of the artillery guns of the Russians. At that time, Russians and Indians, they decided to cut Pakistan into pieces, and that was a very, very serious thing for Pakistan. The most closest portion for the Indians was if you move from Bahawalpur, or to be very frank, from Multan to Bahawalpur and towards Rahimia Khan, and Ridi Rahimia Khan is the most naked and vulnerable place for the Indians to move in. I just take in 1960, two cantonments were built by Ayub Khan. One was Khariyan Kent and other was Multan Kent. Most of us, we belong to Punjab. Agar aap Khariyan Kent ke piche chale jayenge, behind Gujarat, Lala Musa, there's a defense road moving along that. You move on defense road and Chamjodiya, Mashur, Iftakharabad is very close, and you can see the Indian held Kashmir right in front of you. And all along, if you travel, you will hit Head Marala, and after that, Sialkot. Keeping in view those days that the Indians may move from here, the Khariyan cantonment was built. And similarly, Multan Kent was built as keeping in view at that time, that is the weakest portion of Pakistan where the Indians can move, and it was proved after many, many years. Now, it was so difficult. I'll cover up this. Rapid is actually trained and suggested by Russians to make this potent force against Pakistan. Reorganized Army Plane Infantry Divisions. This is a very, very competent force which they wanted to use against Pakistan. They have the tanks, fighting elements, followed by infantry fighting elements, supported by artillery, they have their own integral squadrons, Air Force squadrons. Now, S means strike. Here the S means strike. They had to come in front and contact the GT road or the railway line running between Bahawalpur, Multan, and Rahimia Khan. And D means defense. In case agar Pakistan launches its counter attack to contain the Indian attack, in that case, they had defensive portions for that. Now, can we have the... No, the...
Sorry, I apologize.
Yes. See this layer 1, layer 2 and main force. They had to come at a distance of 10 to 15 kilometers. एक layer ने आना था. Second, in between is the center line, and second line is the. So it was very difficult for Pakistan army to contain it. और उस वक्त ये जो force 1 है ये चलती, and having a distance of 700 to 800 meters, second wave would have come, and they would open up like that. Once they had opened, उसका funnel बनाते हैं. जब आप funnel बनाएंगे तो उस सूरत में the main force was still standing here and waiting for these two what they achieve after destroying the Pakistani forces. This force had to come and open up. Can you? Okay, no problem. So इसको funnel की तरह चलें और उसके बाद main force को अंदर लेकर आएंगे इस funnel के बीच में से गुजारते हुए, and they will contact the GT road and the railway track, railway line running between Rahim Khan and Bahawalpur. That time, somebody suggested how to stop them, how to stop Indians. Lieutenant Zahir Shah, incidentally he is my course mate, winner of the Sword of Honor, and now he is working for CPEC, he is Major General. He suggested why not to have a canal, छप्पड़ जिसको बोलते हैं, haphazard manner में इस तरह से बनाया जाए कि अगर Indian army इसमें आ जाए तो they should require a very prominent engineer effort to cross it. It was very difficult for the Indian army. Secondly, what they did, they contacted the World Organization कि जी ये जो desert है सारा इसको हम build करना चाहते हैं agricultural land में. They gave the money, and how the Pakistan dug a complete canal system all along the border to stop this rapids. Once they dug in, उसमें chemical छोड़े गए कि in case अगर Indian infantry इसमें छलांग मार के बाहर आती है तो chemicals के जरिए इनके जिस्म पे आबले पड़ेंगे और हम इनको रोक सकेंगे. It is very difficult. Then we acquired TOW missile system, tubular optic wire guided system from America. The range was 3,000 meters, and that's how these rapids could contain. ये बताने का आपको मकसद ये है. Can I have the Kashmir map? Yes. I have put two lines here. Now these rapids, the Indian GHQ, once they saw that it's very difficult to cross all that and Pakistan has taken a very formidable defense, they moved those rapid divisions into Kashmir. And since this all rugged mountains cannot, take the tanks on, so they have moved this plain towards this plain area. This is known as Jammu and Kashmir. आपका मुल्क है, आप जरूर जाके देखिए. जम्मू जो है पाकिस्तान में खड़े हो सामने नजर आता है. तो जम्मू and Kashmir में they have selected this place to get into Kashmir and towards Punjab, covering two. It's not covering distance of 10 to 15 kilometers. ये 200 meters में expand करके आपको उसी तरीके से they want to take you on with the help of latest aeroplanes, with the latest American guns and everything. So they are very, very potent force. At the moment, there's a big threat in Kashmir sitting for Pakistan army. Next. Cold start. आप लोगों ने बहुत अखबार में सुना होगा, पढ़ा होगा. जी cold start है. Cold start. What is that cold start? Cold start. In 2002, General Sundar ji, वो गुजर गया, Chief of Army Staff. He suggested something to make a very prominent, strong group against Pakistan, move them into the Pakistani borders, and attain the attention of the Pakistan army. जब पाकिस्तान आर्मी आगे लड़ेगी तो use your rockets components जो इंडिया के नाग, त्रिशूल, मुख्तलिफ रॉक, and destroy the Pakistani reserves. This is cold start, simple words. Destroy the Pakistani reserve. Pakistan doesn't have depth. हमारे साथ एक प्रॉब्लम ये है कि ना हमारे मुल्क में डेप्थ है, ना हमारे पास इतनी फौज है कि हम उसको साइड से ले सकें. यहाँ पे बताने का मकसद ये है कि इन केस अगर पाकिस्तान takes on the Indian threat and very well, or they save their reserve, in that case, India may have a side circle known as single envelopment in the military terminology. और उस सूरत में भी the fighting force, the reserves cannot fight that much. लेकिन it was a big threat for Pakistan. So General Rahim Sharif, General Bajwa, they worked very hard. Now on same very basis, let me tell you very frankly, now on same very basis, inshallah we will tackle this cold start of Indian Army doctrine जो है. और अब उनको ये समझ नहीं आ रही है क्या किया जाए, इसका क्या किया जाए. They consulted Germans, they consulted Britishers, they consulted Americans and many other for this cold start. And many of them, they said, what is this technique you want to adopt? Well, you have everything. Rocket components, if you want to use, they have also rocket components. They can destroy your reserves. They can do anything. So far, both the countries, they are sitting, working for the cold start. Surgical strike. पिछले 2 साल से सुन रहे हैं, surgical strike. मैं एक military आदमी हूँ, I have been to many strikes like this. On 16th October 2016, well, they say they carried out a surgical strike. What is a surgical strike? जब आप एक टारगेट आपको constantly तंग करता हो, constantly it's pain in your neck that he is bothering me. So you go and destroy that target. Well, they say this surgical strike, why I have written that they have carried out in Kashmir. अब कश्मीर जो है, इस वक्त इंडियन आर्मी 2-3 किस्म की जंग लड़ रही है. One is jungle warfare, complete jungles. Secondly, mountain warfare. उनके लिए बहुत मुश्किल है. हर एक आदमी mountain warfare के 100 फुट चढ़ेंगे, आपका सांस चढ़ जाता है. So you got to be very trained. And third, अगर हम इन दोनों को बराबर करें, तो very difficult to train a soldier. So what they did, they put in some quick response force very recently. Quick response force जो BSF को beef up करेगी, जो इंडियन आर्मी को beef up करेगी, जो दूसरे जो एलिमेंट्स उनके सिविल आर्मर फोर्सेस उनको beef up करेगी. Plus they have inducted 48 commandos. We have SSG, Special Services Group, but they have Black Cat. Black Cat के 48 commandos उनके हवाले किए so that they are be trained and they can carry out more surgical strikes. Now here I come on the surgical strike. I have been a student of military history and I have been studying lot many campaigns, battles हमें पढ़ाई जाती थी. Long time back, 20-25-30 साल पहले आप लोगों ने भी पिक्चर्स देखी होंगी. Where Eagle has Eagle Dare, Guns of Neveron, Guns Neveron, and they all were written by one writer and his name was Alistair MacLean. बड़ा ज़बरदस्त writer था. And will you believe all these stories, they are fake. All fake. इसका कोई वजूद नहीं है. कहीं एलाइड फोर्सेस ने पिक्चर तो बना ली, लेकिन ऐसे जितने बड़े बड़े टारगेट जर्मन्स ने नहीं अचीव किए थे, वो उनका अपना यूरोपियन उनका अपना कॉन्टिनेंट था. सो उस बेस के ऊपर जो झूठ, ना डिफेंस मिनिस्टर की लाइन बनती है, ना प्राइम मिनिस्टर एक लाइन पे है, ना उनके चीफ ऑफ आर्मी स्टाफ एक लाइन पे है, और वो कहते हैं कि सर्जिकल स्ट्राइक की. सर्जिकल स्ट्राइक इज विद मैक्सिमम फोर्स, विद मिनिमम एफर्ट, you go into the enemy territory and destroy that and come back with maximum force. आज तक मुझे नहीं पता लगा कि उनकी फोर्स क्या थी. मैक्सिमम फोर्स विद मिनिमम टाइम. यहां पे हम कहते हैं सरप्राइज अचीव करना. अगर मैं भी ये कहूँ कि जी प्रेसिडेंट ट्रंप इज कमिंग, इट्स अ बिग सरप्राइज फॉर अस, फॉर एवरीवन. लेकिन यहाँ पे ना उन्होंने सरप्राइज अचीव किया. कोई कहता जी मैं 2 दिन पाकिस्तान में रहा और सुबह रहा, अगले दिन वापस आया. आई डोंट थिंक सो. इट्स अ कंप्लीट ब्लफ. इट्स ऑल आई हैव सीन ए फेक movie of a surgical strike which is wrong. So with maximum force, with minimum effort, minimum time के साथ आप कहीं जाकर एक टारगेट को तबाह करते हैं. That is known as surgical strike. Last 2 weeks back, Russian president and the Indian prime minister, they signed a deal with S-400. It's a defensive weapon, anti missile जो आप कह लें इसको, डिफेंसिव वेपन है ये S-400. इसके ऊपर बहुत ज़्यादा इस वक्त अमेरिका में भी लेदे हो रही है कि why they have signed the deal. S-400 has the capability to stop all Pakistani rocket components, aircrafts, drones. उनकी इसकी ये कैपेबिलिटी है. Its range is 65,000 feet. It can operate up to 65,000 feet, which is very difficult for any Pakistani aircraft. F-16 has 56,000, JF-17 has 60,000 ये प्रवास कर सकता है, लेकिन इसके अलावा हमारे पास कोई इसका इलाज नहीं है. I try to reach certain people in Pakistan, so far मुझे कोई फीडबैक नहीं आई. सिर्फ एक ऐसा इस वक्त मोबाइल है, आपके पास रॉकेट कंपोनेंट्स हैं, that is known as Ababil. At this time, India has blocked your complete radar system. मैं इसकी कैपेबिलिटी बताता हूँ. From 5 kilometers to 400 kilometers radius में, it can take all types of aircraft, drones, whatever you fire. In the air, it can destroy it. किसी भी किस्म की movement, it can detect. Secondly, it can detect and it can destroy in the air. Third, the ground targets, it can ascertain any aircrafts which are flying in the air, it can detect and destroy. और जो इसमें है कि वो जो stealth हमारे पास जो aircraft है, even those aircraft, those drones can be detected and can be destroyed. ये इसकी तमाम खूबियां हैं. They are going to acquire 6 battalions which they are going to have 2 in Kashmir. ये जो आप जम्मू कश्मीर देख रहे हैं, ये दायरा मैं आपको बताता हूँ. They are going to have 2 in Kashmir, 1 at surrounding Delhi, and rest all along the Rajasthan border. So no Pakistani aircraft can intrude into Indian territory. ये देखिए इसके यहाँ पे जो ये जो एक्वायर कर रहे हैं सिस्टम, S-400 will cover this entire Pakistan, Bahawalpur range and up to Hyderabad, Sindh. This all will be covered by S-400. I heard that Chinese they have offered some drones or something. अभी तक उनकी कैपेबिलिटी पता नहीं लगी है. और उसके अलावा भी अभी जब प्राइम मिनिस्टर जाते हैं तो what they have decided कि जो उनके साथ मीटिंग होती है, how to tackle this. And I also heard that the American pressure is because it's a very, very lethal weapons for both the countries. We will automatically, definitely both the countries will start running towards the weaponization again, और बहुत मुश्किल हो जाएगा. तो ये इस सूरत हाल में it's very, very difficult. Do we have more? That's it. So this is the latest situation. I wanted to apprise you. I'm sorry I have a very different perspective from the army side. So thank you very much for listening to me and for your patience. Thank you very much.
Now for concluding remarks, I request our Consul General, Mr. Javed Marani, to please come to the stage. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Well, doctor has left because he has an urgent thing to do. Dr. Murtaza has left. Dr. Murtaza, I think he has left. Dr. Murtaza, actually? Okay, ठीक है. Okay. Thank you. Major Hafizur Rahman, Dr. Murtaza, he has left. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, Assalamu alaikum and good evening. I thank you for coming to Consulate this evening to express solidarity with our Kashmiri brethren on the occasion of Kashmir Black Day. This day marks a tragic beginning in the history of South Asia. On this day, Indian forces landed in Sri Lanka to occupy, subjugate, oppress and terrorize the innocent people of Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir in blatant violation of international law. Indian occupation forces use live ammunition and pellet guns against civilians with impunity.
Deliberate targeting of eyes, blinding countless, has no parallel in the history of the civilized world. For 7 decades, India has occupied Jammu and Kashmir in contravention of UN Security Council resolutions that call for holding of plebiscite to determine the wishes of Kashmiri people. This does not realize that it is impossible to crush the spirit of a people once they commit to the achievement of their freedom. I would also draw your attention to the report on Jammu and Kashmir released by the Office of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights in June 2018 that had shaken the delusion of India. The evidence-based report on the grave human rights violation in Indian occupied Kashmir recommends the establishment of a commission of inquiry to investigate into the allegations of human rights violation in Indian occupied Kashmir. The UN High Commissioner had highlighted what he called the chronic impunity for violations committed by security forces and said that the political nature of the conflict had masked the untold suffering of millions of people. Pakistan strongly supports the recommendations to analyze the human rights situation in Indian occupied Kashmir. As you have seen, the statistics of Indian brutalities against the innocent Kashmiri people, these warrant active and meaningful involvement of the international community to an early resolution of this dispute. I shall also request you to draw attention of your respective congressmen and senators towards Indian denial of the right of self-determination of Kashmiri people. The continued brutal suppression of Kashmiri people and recent surge in killings of young Kashmiris requires urgent action. We pay homage to the sacrifices of our brethren in Indian occupied Kashmir and reiterate Pakistan's principled position to find a peaceful and just resolution of the Jammu and Kashmir dispute. Pakistan will continue to extend moral, political and diplomatic support to Kashmiris in their relentless struggle to reclaim their inalienable right to self-determination as enshrined in the numerous United Nations Security Council resolution. I thank you all for joining this Kashmir Black Day 2018. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We thank you all our peers, and now General Raji, we request you to kindly proceed to our consular hall just beside this room for dinner.